Hello, hello, hello. It's me, your friendly neighborhood Julia, here to do a little more critical reasoning practice with you. Today's topic is cause and effect arguments. There are a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind when it comes to cause and effect arguments. First, order matters. The cause has to come before the effect, or it doesn't work. Second, correlation is not causation. So, just because two things co-occur, that doesn't make it automatically cause and effect. Let's work through some examples from TTP so I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. We're going to start with a simple example. Surfer. I read that over the last 5 years, there have been on average 82 shark attacks on humans per year worldwide. I remember that 20 years ago, the average number of shark attacks reported was around 50 per year. Clearly, conservation measures aimed at restoring shark populations have been successful, and there are many more sharks in the oceans than there were 20 years ago. Which of the following, if true, most seriously calls into question the surfer's conclusion? Let's find our conclusion, which is after the word clearly. Now, let's identify our cause and effect. The cause is that, due to conservation measures, there are more sharks in the oceans than there were 20 years ago. The effect is that there has been an increase in reported shark attacks over the last 5 years. Notice from the question that we are looking to weaken the surfer's conclusion. Let's look at the choices. A. While educational programs have succeeded in raising awareness of the importance of sharks for the health of the oceans, every year large numbers of sharks are killed for their fins. This choice might imply that there aren't more sharks now than there were 5 years ago, but without relative amounts of sharks mentioned, it's too vague. B. During the most recent year, more shark attacks on humans were reported than were reported in any previous year. This choice implies that the number of shark attacks is increasing, which is already established by the question, so it's not helpful. C. The percentage of shark attacks that are fatal has been decreasing as methods for treating the resulting wounds have improved. This choice is discussing the fatality of attacks, but the original question is about attacks regardless of fatality, so it isn't relevant. D. The human population and the popularity of going to beaches and swimming in the ocean have been increasing steadily. This choice weakens the surfer's conclusion. If the human population and popularity of going to the beach has increased, then the percentage of people being attacked by sharks could have decreased significantly, even though the number of people being attacked by sharks has increased. It offers an alternative explanation for the effect, thereby weakening the cause and effect claim. And E. Occasionally, a shark attack that occurs in a remote area goes unreported. This choice is about unreported shark attacks, which is not what we're discussing, only the reported ones, so it is not relevant. Best answer is D. This example illustrated that correlation does not equal causation. Let's look at a different question. In 2012, the Muscat Sound, which is inhabited by manatees, was struck by an outbreak of algae blooms. Since then, the Sound's manatees have been dying off in large numbers. Clearly, the algae blooms must be causing the deaths of the manatees. Which of the following, if true, most weakens the argument? The conclusion, after clearly, right here, is that the algae blooms must be causing the deaths of the manatees, which is also our cause and effect. So cause, algae bloom outbreak, effect, increased manatee deaths. Let's look at our answers to see which one weakens the argument. A. The populations of many types of fish that inhabit Muscat Sound have not declined at all since the outbreak of algae blooms began. This might seem to support the conclusion, but be careful about comparisons. What's true of many types of fish doesn't necessarily apply to manatees. Either way, it's not the answer to our question. B. Far fewer motorboats have been present on the Sound since the outbreak of the algae blooms. This is irrelevant. I guess it could imply that the lack of motorboats is causing increased manatee mortality, but that seems like a stretch. C. The increase in algae blooms is the result of increased levels in the Sound of pollutants that are known to cause fatal illnesses in manatees. This choice implies that an increase in pollutants causes both the algae bloom breakout and the increased manatee deaths. By offering a third occurrence up for both the cause and effect, the argument is weakened. D. The algae release toxins that kill manatees' main food source, seagrass. This choice supports the argument, which is not what we're trying to do. E. A similar outbreak of algae blooms has occurred in a different area, which has not experienced increased mortality in marine life. This is another comparison, and it's also a stretch, so it's not our choice. The best answer is going to be C. Let's look at one more problem. In 1994, it was found that 98% of homicides in Country X occurred inside the victims' own homes. To combat this trend, the government enacted a gun buyback policy. Between the years 1994 and 2000, the number of households with guns dropped by 30%, and the country saw an 8% drop in the annual number of homicides that happened inside the victims' homes. Politicians applauded the buyback policy, concluding that the decrease in the homicide rate must certainly be due to the decrease in household gun ownership. Which of the following, if true, calls into question the politician's conclusion? Whenever there are years or timelines involved in a question, pay close attention. In cause and effect arguments, because order plays such a large part, be aware of timelines. The conclusion is easy to find here after the word concluding. Right here. Our cause is decrease in household gun ownership due to the buyback program, and our effect is decreased homicide rate. Let's see which one of these weakens the argument. A. Between 1978 and 1994, gun ownership and overall homicide rates in Country X remained the same. This choice is irrelevant. Can you see why? Because it pertains to a time period before the period we're discussing. B. In Country X, while the number of homicides occurring annually in the victim's home decreased from 1994 to 2000, so the right timeline, the overall rate of domestic violence did not change. This choice is irrelevant because it's about a different crime than the one we're discussing. We're only concerned with the homicide rate, and this is about domestic violence. C. The years 1994 to 2000 saw a significant decline in all forms of serious crime in Country X. Okay, if from the year 1994 to 2000, rates of all crimes, all serious crimes, in this country decreased, that makes it seem like the cause of decreased homicides was not the gun buyback program and decreased ownership of guns. The gun buyback program would not affect all crimes equally. This choice weakens the politician's conclusion. D. The suicide rate in Country X rose 2% between 1994 and 2000. Again, we're not talking about suicides in this question, only homicides, so this does not pertain to our argument. And E, from 1994 to 2000, there was no decrease in the number of guns sold annually to members of households in Country X. This choice seems to call into question one of the premises, which, as we all know, is not how the GMAT works. Premises must be taken as true. So if it says that the number of households with guns dropped by 30%, which is right here, then we have to take that as true. Our best answer is going to be C. Cause and effect is often misinterpreted, and not just on the GMAT. I hope that you've enjoyed working through these problems with me. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time with some more critical reasoning tips.